The woman cannot see. Her eyes are clouded with cataracts that have stolen her vision for the past 11 years. She walks with a white cane. She is guided to the stage by a production assistant who holds her elbow gently. She is 74 years old. She moves slowly, carefully, each step deliberate. And in her free hand, she carries something, a frame, an old picture frame with ornate edges. She holds it against her chest like it is the most precious thing in the world. Because it is. Oprah watches her approach. The audience watches. 400 people holding their breath as this blind woman makes her way across the stage. She reaches the interview chair. She sits down slowly. She sets the frame on her lap. Face down, not yet revealed. Oprah leans forward. "Thank you for being here," she says. Her voice is warm. "I understand you have traveled a very long way." The woman nods. 3,000 miles, she says. Her voice is thin but steady. "From a small village in Ireland. I have been waiting 52 years for this moment." Oprah tilts her head. 52 years is a long time to wait, she says. "What moment are you waiting for?" The woman's hands move to the frame on her lap. Her fingers trace the edges. "I am waiting to give you something," she says. "Something that belongs to you. Something you do not know exists." Oprah's expression shifts. Curiosity. Confusion. Something else beneath it. "What do you mean?" she asks. The woman lifts the frame. She turns it over. She holds it up toward Oprah. The studio lights catch the glass. And Oprah sees what is inside. A photograph. Black and white. Old. Faded. A young black woman holding an infant. The woman in the photograph is wearing a maid's uniform. The infant is wrapped in a white blanket. And the infant is white. Oprah stares at the photograph. Her mind tries to process what she is seeing. She does not understand. Not yet. The blind woman speaks again. "This photograph was taken in Dublin, Ireland," she says. "In 1951. The woman in this photograph is your grandmother's sister. Her name was Ida May Lee. She was sent to Ireland in 1948 because she was pregnant. Pregnant with a white man's child. A child that could never be acknowledged in Mississippi." She pauses. "That infant in the photograph is me." Oprah's hand flies to her mouth. "I am your grandmother's niece," the woman says. "Which means I am your great-aunt's daughter. Which means we are family." She reaches out toward where she knows Oprah is sitting. "My name is Siobhan Kelly, and I have spent 52 years trying to find you." The studio is completely silent. Oprah cannot speak. She cannot move. She can only stare at this blind woman who has just rewritten everything she thought she knew about her family. How do we get here? Rewind 102 minutes. The morning had begun with mystery. The production team had received an unusual request 3 weeks earlier. A letter from Ireland. Handwritten, on thin paper that smelled faintly of lavender. The letter explained that an elderly woman named Siobhan Kelly needed to appear on the Oprah Winfrey Show. The letter claimed she had information about Oprah's family. Information that had been hidden for over 70 years. Information that would change everything. The production team had been skeptical. They received claims like this regularly. People claiming to be related to Oprah. People claiming to have secrets about her past. Most of them were frauds. But something about this letter was different. It included details, names and dates that checked out. References to Oprah's grandmother that matched historical records. And a photograph. A copy of the photograph. The one showing a young black woman in a maid's uniform holding a white infant. The production team had done their research. They had verified what they could. They had found records of a woman named Ida May Lee leaving Mississippi in 1948. They had found immigration records showing her arrival in Ireland. They had found employment records showing her working as a maid for a wealthy family in Dublin. And they had found birth records. A baby girl, born in 1951. Father listed as unknown. Mother listed as Ida May Lee. The research was compelling, but not conclusive. The production team had decided to bring Siobhan to the show, to let Oprah hear her story, to let the truth reveal itself on camera. Whatever that truth turned out to be. Subscribe and leave a comment because the most powerful part of this story is still ahead. Siobhan had arrived at the studio that morning at 8 a.m. She was accompanied by her daughter, a woman named Mary, 51 years old, born in Ireland, now living in Boston. Mary had helped her mother prepare for this moment. She had helped her choose what to wear. She had helped her practice what to say. She had held her hand during the flight across the Atlantic. "Are you sure about this, Ma?" Mary had asked in the green room. "You do not have to do this. We can go home." Siobhan had shaken her head. "I have waited 52 years, she had said. 52 years of carrying this secret. 52 years of knowing I had family somewhere in America. 52 years of being afraid to reach out." She had touched Mary's face with trembling fingers. "I am 74 years old," she had said. "I am blind. I do not have much time left. If I do not do this now, I never will." Mary had held her mother's hands. "Then let us do this," she had said. And now Siobhan was on stage, holding up a photograph she could not see, telling a story that had been hidden for 7 decades, changing everything. Oprah finally found her voice. "I need to understand," she said. Her voice was unsteady. "You're saying that my grandmother Hattie May had a sister named Ida May, and that Ida May was sent to Ireland because she was pregnant with a white man's child. And that child is you." Siobhan nodded. "That is correct," she said. "Who was the father?" Oprah asked. Siobhan's face darkened. "A man named William Patterson," she said. "He was the son of the family my mother worked for in Mississippi. The Lee family worked for the Pattersons. Your grandmother Hattie May, my mother Ida May. They were both domestic workers there." She paused. "William Patterson raped my mother," she said, "multiple times over several months. When she became pregnant, the family panicked. A black woman pregnant with a white man's child in Mississippi in 1948. It could have gotten her killed. It could have destroyed the Patterson family." Her voice was steady, but beneath it was decades of pain. "So they made a deal," she said. "The Pattersons would pay for Ida May to go to Ireland. She would work as a maid for a family there. She would have the baby in secret, and she would never return to Mississippi, never contact her sister again, never speak of what had happened." Oprah's eyes were wet. "She took that deal," Siobhan continued. "She had no choice. It was that or die. So she left. She left her sister behind. She left everything she knew. And she came to a country where she was alone, completely alone." She touched the photograph. "But she kept this," she said. "The only photograph of me as an infant. The only proof that she had been my mother. She kept it hidden her entire life." Oprah looked at the photograph again. The young woman in the maid's uniform. Her grandmother's sister. A woman she had never known existed. "What happened to her?" Oprah asked. "What happened to Ida May?" Siobhan was quiet for a moment. "She died in 1972, she said. "I was 21 years old. She had worked her entire life as a maid for the same family in Dublin. She never married. She never had other children. She never went back to America." Her voice cracked. "But before she died, she told me everything," she said. "She told me about Mississippi, about the Pattersons, about what happened to her, about the sister she left behind." She leaned forward. "She told me about your grandmother," she said. "Hattie May Lee." She said Hattie May was the strongest woman she ever knew, that she had wanted to fight back when Ida May was sent away, that she had been forced to stay silent to protect her own family. Siobhan reached into her pocket. She pulled out an envelope, yellow with age, fragile. "She died before she could send this," Siobhan said. "It is a letter to your grandmother. She wrote it in 1971. She never found the courage to mail it." She held it out toward Oprah. "I found it after she died," she said, "and I have been trying to deliver it ever since." Behind the scenes, Oprah made a decision that defied every producer's expectation. She stood up. She walked to where Siobhan sat. She took the envelope from her hands. She did not open it. Not yet. Instead, she sat down on the floor beside Siobhan's chair. She took the old woman's hand. "Tell me about her," Oprah said. "Tell me about my great-aunt. Tell me everything you remember." Siobhan's face softened. "She was beautiful," she said, "even when she was older, even when the years had worn her down. She had this light in her eyes, a determination, like she was always fighting something invisible." She smiled slightly. "She used to sing to me," she said, "old songs from Mississippi, songs I did not understand, but the melodies stayed with me. I still hum them sometimes." Her smile faded. She never stopped grieving, she said. For her sister, for her home, for the life that was stolen from her. She would look at old maps of Mississippi and trace routes with her finger. Routes she would never travel. Roads that led back to a home she could never return to. Oprah was weeping now. She used to talk about Hattie Mae, Siobhan continued. Late at night, when she thought I was asleep, she would whisper to the darkness, telling her sister she was sorry, telling her she missed her, telling her she wished things had been different. She touched Oprah's hand, and sometimes she would talk about the future, she said, about the children Hattie Mae would have, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. She would imagine what they would be like, what they would do with their lives. She paused. She would say that one day, one of Hattie Mae's descendants would do something extraordinary, would break out of Mississippi, would become someone the whole world knew. Her voice trembled. And then I saw you on television for the first time, she said, in 1986. And I knew you were the one she had been imagining. I knew you were the descendant she had dreamed about. She was crying now. But I was afraid, she said. Afraid you would not believe me. Afraid I would be dismissed as a fraud. Afraid of what the truth might do to you. She shook her head. So I waited, year after year, watching you from across an ocean, knowing we were family, too afraid to reach out. Her voice broke. I should not have waited so long, she said. I wasted so much time. And now I am blind and old, and I do not have much left. But at least I am here. At least I finally found the courage. This is the moment no one in the studio and no one watching at home ever saw coming. Oprah opened the envelope. Her hands were shaking. She pulled out a single sheet of paper. Thin, yellowed, covered in small, careful handwriting. She began to read aloud. My dearest Hattie Mae. Her voice broke immediately. She steadied herself. She continued, I am writing this letter 23 years after I last saw your face. 23 years since they put me on that boat and sent me away. 23 years of missing you every single day. Oprah wiped her eyes. I do not know if this letter will ever reach you. I do not know if you're still alive. I do not know if you have forgiven me for leaving. But I need to write these words even if no one ever reads them. She turned the page. I did not abandon you. I want you to know that. I did not leave because I wanted to. I left because they made me. Because the alternative was death. For me and for the baby growing inside me. Oprah looked at Siobhan. She kept reading. I have a daughter now. Her name is Siobhan. She has green eyes like her father and dark hair like me. She is the only good thing that came from what happened. And every time I look at her, I see both the horror of how she was conceived and the miracle of her existence. Her voice was barely audible now. I have told her about you, about Mississippi, about the family we left behind. And I have made her promise that someday, somehow, she will find you. She will find your children and your grandchildren. She will deliver this letter and tell them that Ida Mae never forgot, that she loved you until her last breath, that she is sorry for everything. Oprah looked up. The audience was weeping. Siobhan was weeping. Everyone was weeping. She read the final lines. I do not know what the future holds. I do not know if my daughter will keep her promise. But I know this, blood is blood. Family is family. No ocean can separate what God has joined. And we are joined, Hattie Mae. We have always been joined. We always will be. She folded the letter. She held it against her heart. Forever your sister, Ida Mae. Share and subscribe. Make sure this story is never forgotten. For a long moment, no one spoke. The letter hung in the air. 52 years of waiting. 23 years of grief compressed into 2 pages. A message that had never been delivered. Until now, Oprah finally broke the silence. My grandmother died in 1963, she said. This letter was written in 1971. Even if Ida Mae had sent it, Hattie Mae would never have received it. She looked at Siobhan. But I am receiving it now, she said. 52 years late. From across an ocean. From a woman I never knew existed. She squeezed Siobhan's hand. And I want you to know something, she said. I believe you. I believe every word. I believe you're my family. Siobhan's face crumpled with relief. I was so afraid, she whispered. So afraid you would think I was lying. That I was just another person trying to claim a connection to someone famous. Oprah shook her head. The photograph, she said. The letter. The details you know about my grandmother. About the Pattersons. About Mississippi in the 40s and 50s. She paused. But more than that, she said. I feel it. I cannot explain it. But when you walked onto this stage, I felt something I have never felt before. A recognition. A connection. She smiled through her tears. I think that is what family feels like, she said. Even family you have never met. She stood up. She helped Siobhan to her feet. And she did something that would be shown on news programs around the world for weeks. She embraced this blind woman from Ireland. This stranger who was not a stranger. This family member who had been lost for 70 years. She held her, and she spoke words that only Siobhan could hear. Welcome home. The episode changed everything. DNA tests were conducted within days. They confirmed what Siobhan had always known. She and Oprah shared genetic markers. They were family. The world reacted with shock and fascination. The story was covered by every major news outlet. The history of black women sent away to hide shameful pregnancies in the Jim Crow era became a national conversation. Historians came forward with similar stories. Other families came forward with their own secrets. The hidden diaspora began to be acknowledged. But for Oprah, the story was not about history. It was about the present. It was about the family she had suddenly gained. Within a month, she had flown to Ireland. She had walked the streets of Dublin, where Ida May had lived. She had visited her grave. She had laid flowers and read the letter aloud, finally delivering it. 52 years late, but delivered nonetheless. She brought Siobhan and Mary back to America. She showed them Mississippi. The places where Hattie May and Ida May had grown up. The land that had once been their home. The soil that still held their stories. Siobhan could not see any of it, but she could feel it. She knelt down and touched the earth. She let the Mississippi dirt run through her fingers. And she wept. I am home, she said. My mother never got to come home. But I am here. I am home. Siobhan Kelly lived for another 3 years. She spent much of that time with Oprah. They talked for hours. They shared stories. They filled in the gaps that 70 years had created. Siobhan told Oprah everything she could remember about Ida May. Her favorite foods, her habits, her fears, her dreams. And Oprah told Siobhan about Hattie May, the grandmother she had known, the woman who had raised her, the woman who had never spoken to the sister she lost. They became family in every sense of the word, not just by blood, by choice, by presence, by love. When Siobhan died, Oprah was there. She held her hand. She sang the old Mississippi songs that Ida May had taught her daughter, songs that had crossed an ocean, songs that had survived 70 years, songs that finally brought two bloodlines back together. Siobhan's last words were a whisper. Tell my mother I kept my promise. Oprah told her, and Siobhan smiled, and then she was gone. The photograph now hangs in Oprah's home, the one showing Ida May holding infant Siobhan. Beside it hangs another photograph, one taken 70 years later, showing Oprah holding Siobhan's hand. 2 generations, 2 continents, 1 family. Beneath both photographs is a plaque. Oprah wrote the words herself. Blood remembers what history forgets. Family finds a way across oceans and decades. This is the proof. These 2 photographs, 70 years apart, the same love, the same bond, the same blood. The letter from Ida May has been preserved. It sits in a climate-controlled case in Oprah's private collection. Beside it is the envelope it came in, never opened until that day on stage, never delivered until 52 years after it was written, but finally read, finally heard, finally home. There is one final detail that most people do not know. When Siobhan's belongings were sorted after her death, her daughter Mary found something. A journal. Siobhan had been keeping it for decades. Even after she went blind, she had continued to write in it. The handwriting was shaky, uneven, sometimes illegible. But one entry stood out. It was dated the day after the show aired. It said, I finally did it. I kept my promise to my mother. I found them. I delivered the letter. And Oprah said something to me that I will carry with me forever. She said, welcome home. The entry continued. My whole life, I've felt like I did not belong anywhere. Too black for Ireland. Too Irish for America. Too mixed for anyone. But today I learned something. I belong to a family. A family that did not know I existed until yesterday. A family that welcomed me anyway. That is what home means. Not a place. A people. And I finally found my people. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss another story like this. Because there are more hidden families waiting to be discovered. More letters waiting to be delivered. More photographs waiting to reveal truths that have been buried for generations. And somewhere out there, someone is carrying a secret. A story they are afraid to tell. A photograph they are afraid to show. A letter they are afraid to send. Maybe it is time. Maybe the family you have been looking for is looking for you too. Maybe all it takes is courage. The courage to cross an ocean. The courage to walk onto a stage. The courage to hold up a photograph and say, this is who I am. This is who we are. This is our family. Finally together. Finally home.